Welcome to Stuke's Baseball Cards and Curiosities, coming at you from the Curiosity Cave. Today I'm going to dig into part of my collection that I don't usually show in a video. It's about someone that is from my grandpa's hometown, and he went on to be a world champion, very innovative in his sport, and he's actually buried a couple plots over from my grandfather. It's about Norval Baptie. He's a world champion speed skater from the small town of Baptie, North Dakota. I think there's around 100 people, maybe a little less there nowadays. But he learned to skate on the river. There's a Ripley's Believe It or Not cartoon about him skating in the ditch alongside the train, racing the train, which is kind of cool. And he was very popular back then. He was up there with like what Gordie Howe would be, Wayne Gretzky would be today. He was very popular back then, but he didn't score goals. He didn't go to the Olympics. He was a professional speed skater. But when he was 14, he won the North Dakota Speed Skating Championship. And when he was 17, he beat the world champion amateur speed skater in a race. So he is pretty good. I've got several articles here. And then we'll go through some of the items I have in my collection. I'll give you an example. I've got 4 of these postcards. And this is from about 1916, 1917. Morrison Hotel in Chicago. There's 2 shots of Norval Baptie with his future wife Gladys Lamb. Right here, they're performing together. The postcard back. And I have not been able to find a trading card. I've got several Type 1 photos and some advertising for back in the day for Pontiac and a few other things. When he got famous, he went to Minneapolis, and on Lake Minnetonka, he set the world record in the, just want to verify it, I have an article here, quarter mile and half mile. He skated the quarter mile in 28 1/5 seconds. Then he took a break for 20 minutes, and he set the another world record on half mile, 105 2/5 seconds. He was quite the athlete, and he believed in training year-round. He'd have bicycle races back in Bathgate. They had a roller skating rink. They'd skate on the river, and my grandfather skated with Norval Baptie on the river in Bathgate. It's called the Tongue River. It's a very small river, but in North Dakota, when winter comes, those rivers freeze over pretty good. And then after that, Baptie went on to win the world championship speed skating in 1905. He was a champion until about 1920. He took on all challengers. He offered prizes, whatever, if someone would race him. And I don't think very many people ever took him up on it. He even would started doing ice shows because no one would race him. So he'd skate backwards, and he'd have a bunch of kids chasing him, or else he'd actually race somebody backwards, and he'd always win. And he got into barrel jumping, and he invented the ice show after that. That picture of Norval with Gladys Lamb, he's one of the originators of the ice show, and he later went on to train Sonia Heine for her ice shows. He was innovative with the skates. He developed a skate where the figure skates didn't have this loop in front of them anymore. He's never gotten credit for it, but he helped design it. And just kind of an all-around everything. And when I show the photos and everything, you'll see a lot of the ice show type things. Ice show pictures, ice show programs. They're all pretty cool. And he did that up until about 1940. So that would make he was almost 60 or right around 60 when he retired, and he was still speed skating champ in 1920 when he was 41 years old, and he still raced after that. It's very interesting going back in the newspaper articles and watching different people challenge him, and he's going off to world championships in Saranac, New York, or somewhere, and just it's in the advertising, newspapers would advertise the great Baptie's coming and on this date or this date, and he'd go up to Winnipeg and he'd have several shows and put on an exhibition, and the newspapers weren't just in North Dakota, Minnesota. They were all over the country. I've even seen them down south. So it's just pretty cool. And he retired. He went on to manage ice rink in New York, and he had diabetes and he had both legs amputated. And he was out on the rink teaching skaters how to skate in a wheelchair out on the ice with both legs amputated. Just an amazing man. I hope that my video does justice for him. I hope you like the items I show. Oh yeah, and he also helped train skaters for the 1932 Olympics for the USA. And he's in the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame, but he's not famous enough for the North Dakota Sports Hall of Fame, according to the North Dakota Sports Hall of Fame, because a grade school class tried to get him in, and they said he's not well known enough. So he's also in the Ice Skating Institute Hall of Fame. I think he was a charter member of the Ice Skating Institute Hall of Fame. So he has the credentials. You just got to dig them out and look for them. They didn't have cell phones, they didn't have computers, so everything's that you can find is probably in newspapers, unless you find some other items. But I'll start showing some items. I hope you enjoy them, and hope everybody has a great week. Thank you. Here's a 1906 Police Gazette full-page supplement of Norval in his skating outfit. And this was, he's the world champion professional speed skater. And it talks about a race against John Nielsen, former world holder of the title. He actually won in 1905 the World Championships. And the next 15 years or so, he was pretty much the world's professional skating champion. But this is one of my favorite pieces. I found it in an antique shop. The full-page supplement from the Police Gazette, 1906. These are the only cards I've ever been able to find with Norval, and he's on these postcards. Morrison Hotel around 1916, 1917. Doing an ice show with his wife Gladys Lamb. Nice old postcards. Very colorful. Here we have a Pontiac ad that he did for probably about the same time period. Gladys and Norval, they're skating. Pontiac Straight 8. And they're using the word balance. He was also in a movie. I'll have to look at the IMDb database and see what the movie name was. Here they are advertised in a movie, or I should say a stage theater program. Terrace Garden, the Morrison Hotel in Chicago. And the movie it was in called Fascinating Youth. And I was the one that entered it in the IMDb database probably 10 years ago. And there was a part where there was a bunch of skaters in the movie. And he was in the movie. So he was in a movie. Here we have a newspaper clipping from San Francisco from the Chronicle. This is from the 19 teens. Shows Norval jumping barrels. He was pretty much an all-around skater. I remember watching this on, not him, but I saw different people on Wide World of Sports. It's a pretty fun show to watch. And here's a snapshot of Norval, the short guy with the light-colored suit. I don't know where it was, who the other gentlemen are, but it's an actual snapshot of Norval in civilian wear. And it had to be in his heyday, anytime before 1940. But it looks like it's probably after 1920. Now I'm going to show you a few of his real photo ice dancing, figure skating, real photos. Actual Type 1 photos are all stamped on the back of Norval and his wife Gladys Lamb. We'll go through these for a little bit. This one's actually dated 1917. This looks like it was taken in the same place. A lot of these were outdoors back in those days. Indoor arenas were quite rare. Next, a couple studio photos. The fancy fur hat. I'd read newspaper articles about how towns would advertise months ahead of time, Baptie's coming to town, Baptie's coming to town. You'd get a bunch of kids on the ice and they'd try and catch him and he'd skate backwards and no one would come close to catching him. Here we go, another pose from the same studio. Let's take a look at the equipment here. That's what figure skates look like today. He helped design that design back in the day. This is probably one of his last performances as he retired shortly after this. This is dated 1938. Still going strong. Look at the stands up there. They must have had a little circle of ice on a football field or something. This photo is dated 1926. I believe it's an Underwood. And this is another world champion skater in 1926 on his way to race with Norval Baptie, who at this time was in his 40s. This is Art Staff. And here's the back for an example, Underwood. And there's the story tape there. Arthur Staff. There was even a race speed skater named Harley Davidson. I don't think he's any relation to the motorcycle manufacturer, who the motorcycle name is attached to. Here's a program from the Hershey Sports Arena, 1937. Hershey Figure Skating Club are putting this on. Here's Norval's and Gladys Lamb's picture. Nice professionals from Chicago.